Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again the time for the APB recap. This is where I recap some of the happenings in the past week. I've already discussed them on stream in the longer, uncensored, and free of all advertiser restrictions form. Go check out my stream channel, link down below if you want the uncut experience. But for the rest of you, this is the recap of some of the events. Not all, some are stream exclusives because they're way too raunchy for the advertisers, especially the ones that involve not safe for work content. They're not very advertiser friendly. I've said this many times in my past videos, especially if you're interested in sailing the seas, get yourselves a VPN. A paid VPN, not the ones that are free, a paid VPN. The one that I use is private internet access, not sponsored. I've been a happy customer from them. There are a couple of issues, but it's not too significant enough for me to report them, not major enough for me to report them. But if that's way too steep, just use Molvat for €5 or $6 a month flat. Just $6 and you get all the amazing protection from the big corporations and your ISPs as you're sailing the seas. It's much cheaper than subscribing through multiple streaming services, I can tell you that. Why do I bring this up? Well, it's because VPNs aren't perfect. When I see people having issues with VPNs on my timeline, I'm definitely going to talk about them. And unfortunately, I have to give some tough love for PIA. I love you guys. PIA has been doing well for me, but this is not a very good thing to do. So what happened is, Gamers Nexus was contacted by PIA to do a sponsorship spot, and they politely declined. The problem is, they keep on asking them. Apparently, they're spamming about 2 to 3 emails per month, which, to be fair to them, isn't really that much of an issue. I got spam emails from even dodgier sources every day. But it's still not a good look to the entire thing. It just makes them feel very desperate. And they're not the only guys that got spammed with the offers. Mudahar, aka Some Ordinary Gamers, also got spammed with their offers too. This is just a really shameful thing to do, guys. Like, I love you, PIA. Your product is genuinely good. As a VPN, I have little to no issues with your product. I use it almost all the time. I'm still using it right now even. But doing stuff like this is only gonna steer a lot of potential customers, such as my audiences. I have to report to this because I love my audiences and I want my audiences to know that even the things that I recommend aren't perfect and they have the information to make that purchasing decision. I still want to use PIA because for a year they're much cheaper than the competition and they work just fine for my liking, but this is not it. I mean, they're not the only company that does this, but still, no means no. If a content creator tells you politely that they're not gonna be sponsored by your stuff, then that's it. That should be the end of the conversation. This is just really stupid and unprofessional, and not to mention desperate. At the end of the day, with stuff like VPNs and your digital privacy, you gotta do the appropriate research. And by research, I mean go to Google and look up for reviews. Multiple reviews, not just one. It's gotta be like at the bare minimum 10 reviews. Your safety is your responsibility and no one else's. You gotta know who you can trust. In the next installment of China being a censorious authoritarian government, China decided to ban all sorts of live streams of games that are unauthorized. I'm not really sure what they define as unauthorized, but consider this for a moment. The censorship in China is so bad, you can ask for a random Chinese citizen on what they think of Google or Facebook, and they will actually ask you on what those are. Chinese internet is living in its own freaking bubble. In particular, the live streaming of overseas games or competitions should not be carried out without approval. Live streamers should resist abnormal aesthetics. Can you at least define what abnormal aesthetic is, China? At this point, it's pretty much anything that disagrees with your authoritarian government, which at this point is pretty much anything. Apparently, one of the games that hasn't gotten a license is Elden Ring. Like, this game has zero break. Absolutely zero break. This is why games shouldn't be popular. People are making dumb takes about the game, and the game developers just took those dumb takes as legitimate feedback instead of the actually good takes. There are just loads and loads of bad takes on this game. Just this week, there were 2 dumb articles made about the game. The first one is about how Elden Ring is like surviving the pandemic. That in and of itself is a really stupid point. It's so stupid that even other game journals are saying that it's stupid. But what's even worse is the fact that the writer of this article doesn't know how to record game footages or screenshots, or whoever is tasked in delivering the footage or the clips or the screenshots for the game. Like, seriously, you just record them straight from the phone. Like, you do know that there's a screenshot and record function in every platform that can run Elden Ring, right? The second one is how Elden Ring is like Bitcoin. It's where the writer fully admits that the article is a cringy op-ed. Good for you, writer. Good for you for writing something cringy and admitting on the fact that it's cringy. Won't be reading that anytime soon. Thank you very much. This is a really dumb take, and I mean really dumb. Welcome to another installment of video games apparently causing violence. I personally do believe video games cause violence in the sense of dehumanizing brown people as enemies or fodder, which has of course seeped into the mindset of players looking at actual brown folk not deserving of Okay, let's slow down for a bit. Video games dehumanize brown people as enemies. I've been playing video games for decades, and I have never encountered this phenomenon. I mean, as someone who is, brown, you'd think that I would notice something like this. But no, only the enlightened woke progressives will notice something like this. Like when you got photoshops of pictures with suicide vests or twin towers exploding in the background from gamers, maybe then you can see how that was violence. Okay, dude. Okay. 9/11 jokes. They flew right over everybody's heads. I'm not surprised that a person who doesn't understand how jokes work can't understand the distinction between a real statement and a joke. And most importantly, the distinction between a joke and actual violence. Memes are jokes. They're not real statements. There are people who confuse the two, such as yourself, but those are the outliers, the 0.01% of the 99.9% of people who understand the jokes. The outliers are the kinds of people that already have issues to begin with. It's the same with the video game violence arguments. Just because there are some killers who just so happen to like playing video games doesn't mean that most people who play games are real-life killers. The person went on to say that the birth of a nation can be used as a prime example of making or creating race relations even more horrible. It was decades ago, bro. People don't have the internet decades ago. A lot of people weren't used to being exposed with people that have different skin colors. Now we have the internet. You will see that people around the world have different skin colors, and they're all still people. Not to mention, race relations were terrible even before Birth of a Nation. It's a case of reality influencing the fiction and not the other way around. The YouTuber Optimus said that these communities were dehumanized before the invention of video games, which is true, but even then I'd argue that's a bit of a stretch to think that fictional content is the primary cause for dehumanization. Then the person replied, "You specifically read it," and then said, "I believe that dehumanizations did not occur before then." Yes. You suggested that it didn't occur before by saying that video games dehumanized brown people for decades. The person went on to say that you can dehumanize groups of people in ever-changing ways. You, for example, are doing a good job in dehumanizing brown people and portray them as absolute weaklings by making these horrible tweets, but hey, that's just my opinion. He then said that Marvel films are funded by the military, which is true to a certain extent. Yes, they did fund certain movies, but people don't watch Marvel movies and be like, I want to be like the soldiers that got brutally murdered in the very first scene in Iron Man. Or the soldiers that got either killed or mind-controlled by Loki in the Avengers. Or the soldiers that got beaten and destroyed and torn to pieces in the Incredible Hulk. I'm just saying, the Marvel movies don't really sell the military life very well, and especially selling the brown people are bad sentiment. A lot of this is just pure paranoia and delusions. I don't understand why people who think that other people are trying to kill them chose to complain about them on Twitter and not say take a self-defense class or arm themselves. Oh, wait a second, they're progressive, so naturally they're gonna avoid guns like the plague, even if it's the one thing that's gonna save them. This is a segment that I'd like to call, and you wonder why we hate translators or localizers. There are so many mistranslation hooplas. I've talked about a couple of them in my recaps. There's one with River City Girls where the translators are mad that they put the original translation of the game next to the River City Girls style translation in the game. It makes them feel unappreciated. Welcome to the gaming industry. There are loads and loads of works out there that are much more demanding than translations that also don't get appreciated as much, if not less. And I speak this as someone who used to translate stuff a lot. I get it. Our jobs are not as appreciated as a lot of other jobs, even though they're very crucial and important for stuff to be enjoyed internationally. The difference is, I am proud of my work because I translate them as faithfully as possible. You people are proud of your work because you butcher them. There are excerpts of translators just basically admitting to the whole world that they throw away the Japanese text, ad-lib what they imagine what the characters would say, and then rewrite the dialogues completely because it might be a little creepy for US audiences. That's literally not your problem. If there are any US audiences that will get creeped out by the scene that you're trying to translate, they are welcome to play literally any other game. Then one person said that it was for one specific part in the game and not the entire thing. Don't worry guys, we didn't burn the entire building, we just burned down the kitchen. It's perfectly okay. A year ago, there was this thread about how translators handling offensive content and who determines what's left in and what gets censored. So you do have power to censor stuff you don't like. And you wonder why we hate translators and localizers. Seriously, your job is to translate it as faithfully as possible. You're basically like a restoration project, except a lot of times the restoration project is less actual art restoration project and more like Potato Jesus. It's to the point where forgeries look more legit. And that's all I want to say for the recap. If you want more hooplas, then you can go ahead and check out my stream channel link down below. Thank you so much for sticking in, guys. I really appreciate the support in both channels. If you want to see more content, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me through the links down below. Stream channel link down below. Go subscribe. And thanks for watching.